All right, I'm recording this a little early to get it out of the way, so apologies if anything changes before it ends, but there's basically one major event happening. Let's get into it. No excuses. So what's happening? SE Ultimisia has begun. Per usual, I will tend to rate the tournament more as it goes on, but we've had a lot of round 1 results and some interesting games. I last night recorded a video on the rise of successful 5 starters. So far in Ultimisia, we've seen corner starters do fine, normal, some wins, some losses, some ties. We've seen one side starter, and it led to a tie, but we've seen 2 center starters, and not only did both of them win, both of them won in kind of superlative fashion. Really well played games, and I had fun looking at those games, and I think you will too someday. In about 10 days when that video goes up. Anyway, so we have SE Ultimisia, and it's just nice to see different styles of play succeed. So shout out to Sergio and Yevon, who both played really excellent games. Price of Courage finished. This was a very small and short TTN tournament. I'm not gonna give it, a ton of credit, but it was a TTN major. We got a weekly open, um, or a chat tournament, but you know. And Delhi ran a little actual chat tournament, as in it was actually held in chat by people who were there at the time. I will treat this as less important than other events, but I thought it would be cool to include. I was kind of inspired by that. I'm thinking because all the bot accounts got points for Christmas, I was thinking a fun way to use those rather than like pack openings or something like that would be to have each bot hold a little tournament somewhat related to like what that bot does. I think I'm going to try to do that in the chat. And I think the format's going to be something like, so if each bot has like 3,000 or whatever points, then something like every participant who's there over the next hour who completes the bot's challenge gets an equal chunk of those points. So if like only 2 people enter, then they each get 1,500 points. Happy holidays, great job. If 5 people enter, everyone gets 600 points. That still seems very nice for everyone, and like you all play a few games and have fun. I think it might be. I might want to do a format a little like that. Let me know if that seems like a pleasant idea to you. Of just like sometime during some random days, I'll run little bot events where you just have to play a few games and meet a few requirements, and then you get a nice point payout. And not particularly competitive necessarily, but maybe some bots it would be competitive. Maybe like Jack just wants you to play for the points, but Spade it's competitive. Maybe something like that would fit. Anyhow, back to this. Delhi ran a quick little chat tournament. It was closed. I will treat it as a bit less important, but I'm going to include it. And the main event, the completely dominant thing in the rankings this month, is going to be the Christmas GB. And yeah, that was clearly the big event of the month. Other GBs were on hold while this ran, and performance in that will be the primary feature in this month's rankings. So in 10th, we have Vid, who finaled in the Delhi tournament. In ninth, we have Dalamar, who came 6th in the Xmas GB. He could be passed by the time the month is over. He is currently in 6th. Apologies if someone else moves ahead, but again, I'm kind of lazy. And yeah, if you ended up passing Dalamar, no, you should have been top 10, right? If you end up hitting, I think it's 13 points or 14, something around there, you would have made top 10. Dalamar wouldn't necessarily be booted because I might boot Vid there, but you would have been top 10 and should be. Eighth, we have Cliffy, who made the semifinals of one of the chat tournaments. In 7th, we have Seto, who did not win Delhi's tournament, but he is the true winner, and we all know it. As in the first round, he defeated someone before someone else showed up who was supposed to have had Seto's spot, took his place, and turds who Seto beat went on to win the whole thing. So Seto is, in our hearts, the true winner of this tournament. I gave him 7th for admittedly just one game played, which maybe is a little high. He wins one close game versus turds. On the other hand, as best I can tell, the primary thing that drives him in life is winning, primarily, but not necessarily, closed games versus turds. And so I think this is an important thing to commemorate as often as we can. Sixth, we have Vialva, who came fifth in the Christmas GB. Again, there's a chance he is passed for that slot, but I think he's pretty likely to end up in fifth, and he has a few games left to play. So if someone does pass him, he could easily up his standing. Technically, Vialva could end up as high as third, but the third and fourth place finishers right now have clearly better scores, and I think will likely finish ahead of him. In fifth, we have some jump up. We have Smokes, who's fourth in GB, one spot ahead of Vialva, though I think 4 points ahead, so over a win ahead. And he was a Price of Courage finalist. Was a 2-round tournament, how much to put in that. But two nice results put Smokes very clearly in fifth, clearly ahead of 6th through 10th, clearly behind the top four. In fourth, we have Akiyama. He only did well in one event, the Chat Tournament 50, but he won the event, and this might be the strongest field beaten in a chat tournament. It's certainly in contention for a 3-rounder. Like, that's a pretty good field. He beat them in that order. Yeah, really nicely done. I considered putting him third, but decided I liked more results rather than just the one. But there's a good argument for him in third. And actually, him in third would have swung something later. I didn't realize this was that important a pick. I just realized this. If I put Akiyama third instead of fourth, it moves him up a spot in the Player of the Year rankings. Oh man, maybe I screwed Akiyama over. Oh well, too late now. We have third. Turds wins the Delhi tourney. He comes third in the Xmas GB, and he finals Chat Tournament 50. That's probably a better resume, right? So okay, Turds can get third. In second, I really expected this to be a winner for Player of the Month this month. We have Dalial, who wins the Xmas GB, but not only does he do so, he does so with 2.38 points per game. He wins 9, he ties 4. So not only is this a better score than anyone put up last year, it's about half a point per game better. The top score last year was 1.86 per game, and Delhi's 2.38 just crushes that. I couldn't find how well I did when I won it in 2021, so I'm not sure if this is a better score per game than the one I put up, but my guess is it probably is. Fewer games, so you could argue either way, but I think this is a good case to be the best Xmas GB result we've had, and he also made a semifinals in a chat tournament. But our winner for Player of the Month is, drumroll please, Tezuka, who I think the signature moment here is probably actually beating Akiyama in round 1 of Ultimisia, just because Akiyama is so insanely strong. But he quietly won Price of Courage, so he picks up a TTN major. He comes second in the Xmas GB with over 2 points per game, which would have been enough to win the prior year comfortably. And while he technically has a slightly lower score than Vid had last year, if he plays and wins one more game and he has won over half his games and he has 2 games left he could play, he will pass that margin. So yeah, just really nice across the board from Tezuka, and I ended up being the most impressed by his month. So he gets my Player of the Month for December, and now we can move on to Player of the Year stuff. So in actual life, Turds won 4 votes to 3 over Delial, with Yevon getting third. Great year for Yevon. But let's look at how my scores pan out for my Player of the Month rankings, where you get points for where you land each month, and we add it up, and you get your total year score. So in 10th, we have Zoom with 23. He wins the February Player of the Month for 15 of those points, but he didn't play in the second half of the year. So in the first half, he looked on pace to maybe contend for top 6, but going inactive, he did not finish there. Tezuka comes on strong late, boots me off the list. What a rude guy. He didn't make a single power ranking until the final 3 months, but is the third best player of the last 3 months by these rankings, and ends up finishing 9th. In 8th, we have Addy, and in 7th, we have Selder. Very similar resumes. They were both regularly finishing 2nd through 7th in the first half of the year, and then both of them mostly stopped competing in events. I want to especially say, I know Addy went on to win Close Player of the Year, but I thought he played really well in Open this year. There's obviously his excellent Clan League, but I think there were just a whole number of events where Addy really showed great Open skill this year. Then we have a big gap to third through sixth, who are very close. You'll notice this is all like could easily flip with one random month that I screwed up the rankings of. So I would not say there's a huge separation between these four, and you could have any one of them reasonably in third. Yevon had the most kind of transcendent peak of any of these players, winning Player of the Month in consecutive months. I think the third time that's ever been done. I don't remember. If you check the October video, I'm sure I said it then. Then in fifth, we have Rayaminator, who started in February and played through July, so a 6 month span, puts up a score fully on pace to, actually win Player of the Year in those 6 months, and then stops playing. So a tremendous half-year run from Rayaminator puts him firmly in the second tier. Akiyama was less active than last year, but basically just as strong in the actual results of what he did. Last year, there was a three-way race for first where everyone scored between 110 and 120 points, all three of those players. Akiyama, I think, ended up finishing third with 110. But the point is to say he was just as good this year. He was just significantly less active, and so did not land as highly on Player of the Month rankings. And in third, with a big return year, Vid comes back with 70. Now, technically, he did play some last year because he won the Xmas GB last year, but basically, this was his first more than a month part of a year back, and he snags the bronze medal. We have a clear top two this year. It is the same top two we had last year, though last year Akiyama kept it very close. Week in, week out, these are the most dominant players. It's Turds versus Delial. Who snags my victory? Turds snagged the actual award, but my victory goes to Delial. Delial had a lead for most of the year. Turds closed the gap a bit in the later months, but then Delial did really well these last 2 months to win it by a 10-point margin, which is the equivalent of a second place in a month. Third place in a month. Third place is worth 10 points. Delial also keeps his streak alive. He has been on my Player of the Month rankings every single month since the return. I think I started it in October 2020, 2021. God, the years all blend together now. I guess it must be 2020. October 2020. And so this is around 40 consecutive months with him having made my Player of the Month top 10. And I think his worst finish is 8th, but I could be wrong on that. Despite that, Turds kept it really close, and I think was a very deserving pick for Player of the Year. I really liked the top three of Delial, Turds, and Yevon. And Turds winning is very legit. Delial winning would have been very legit. Yevon winning would have been a plot twist, but also really fun. Like, Yevon had a fantastic year, and for a few months there was clearly outperforming everyone else. Award winners, just wanted to sort of commemorate it here. I didn't list out all the top finishers, and I think like getting a vote is really meaningful, and winning isn't the only thing here. But that said, Deli wins all rounder for the third year in a row. I think this is Deli's first time winning Open in the return, though he has won it many, many times in the past. Closed, Addy continues his dominance, though as I said earlier, I think he had a great Open year, as well as Cookie, who won SE Zidane, the closed tournament, and won it with the challenging thing if he went to loser's bracket relatively early, and loser's bracket has to play more rounds, and he just kept winning. Handmaker goes to Tezuka, which I think is deserved, though I might have a video coming. This is not very serious, but, the mystique of Tezuka. Is he really such a good hand maker, or does he just play those hands really well? We're gonna maybe investigate at some point. New returning player, we have Vid. Vid technically returned at the end of last year, but this is very legit. If Vid's included in this, Vid is a very deserving winner. But we actually had a whole bunch of nice contenders here. I think for a site that, is so far removed from the game being played, it's really cool that we both got some new players and got some returners. Both players like Vid, who have just long-standing legendary presence on the site, but also some players that either come from earlier or weren't around as long returning is really nice. Doom Train Sportsmanship Award goes to Dalamar, who also picks up Community Contributor, Graphics Artist, and Helpful. Well done to Dalamar, well deserved. Spid also ties for graphics artist. Maybe that's just pronounced speed. It's probably just pronounced speed. Seto wins favorite member with 3.5 votes. Very suspicious. I demand a recount. And what was funny about that award is someone nominated everybody, and everybody came second with 3 votes. So Seto is literally more popular than everybody. Most improved goes to Frodo. I think there were a bunch of good picks here. I don't think I voted for Frodo, but I'm also like delighted to see him win. I thought Yevon just really did crazy good things this year. But also, it was really neat to see Frodo's improvement as a player and to see some of the games he played early in the year and some of the games he played towards the end of the year and see some very strong players go like, wait, I played this guy 3 months ago and this was free, and now it is very much difficult and I'm maybe lost. Right? It was just really cool to see. I think I voted for Yevon, but I'm very happy to see Frodo win, and I now wish I had voted for Frodo. Underdog surprise performance. We have Addy in CL, Kaus in SE Zidane, and Yevon kind of just crushing everything. All tied for first. Casual player, we have Cookie, who did, among other things, casually win SE Zidane without like knowing he was still in the tournament at one point. I think the funniest thing about Cookie winning SE Zidane, it's funny. I say Zinedine Zidane because that's how it's pronounced, but because as a kid it was Zidane to me for FF9, I say that Zidane. Those to me are two different names. So he wins SE Zidane, and he wasn't in the Discord, so we constantly had the chat trying to catch him and message him in game to let him know his opponents were around. And it was this really collaborative effort with lots of people helping his opponents catch him for games. Best random player, we have Akiyama and Delial. And the best match, we also have Akiyama Delial with their TTAC 15 quarterfinals match. There were a bunch of really cool matches this year. Ray A. Deli was really good too. Anyway, very good match. TTM player is Turds, and player of the year here goes to Turds, which again I think was well deserved. It was a vote apart, I think, very much a coin flip here, and it would have been great to see either win it. But given that Delial swept the kind of all-rounder open awards, I'm glad to see Turds win these awards here. It feels about right that they should win a similar number of awards. And sometimes you have someone like a little bit better, and so they end up winning all of the awards because they're just a little ahead for all of them. But it's nice and feels more representative when they basically split the big awards. Also happy to see Akiyama show up here again. I think he was a really great player this year. I think that's all I got. So yeah, there we go for the end of another fine year on Triple Triad. Thank you to all of the people here for spending it together. It's been delightful.